Let's talk about a social issue, gay marriage. In New Hampshire, you said, "I will fight for your right to be left alone." I realize that you believe gay marriage is a state issue, but why do you believe, just as a core principle, as a libertarian, that people should be left alone, but not when it comes to their right to marry somebody they love?
I do believe people ought to be left alone. I don't care who you are, what you do at home, or who your friends are, where you hang out, what kind of music you listen to. What you do in your home is your own business. That's always been who I am. I am a leave me alone kind of guy.
But not when it comes to marriage.
Well, no. I mean, states will end up making the decisions on these things. I think that there's a religious connotation to marriage. I believe in the traditional religious connotation to this. But I also believe people ought to be treated fairly under the law. I see no reason why, if the marriage contract conveys certain things, that if you want to marry another woman, that you can do that and have a contract. But the thing is the religious connotation of marriage that has been going on for thousands of years, I still want to preserve that. And you probably could have both. You could have both traditional marriage, which I believe in, and then you could also have the neutrality of the law that allows people to have contracts with another. Genital mutilation has been nearly universally condemned. Genital mutilation has been condemned by the WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Population Fund. According to the WHO, genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Genital mutilation is considered particularly egregious because, as the WHO notes, it is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children. Most genital mutilation is not typically performed by force, but as WHO notes, that by social convention, social norm, the social pressure to conform, to do what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community. American culture is now normalizing the idea that minors can be given hormones to prevent their biological development of their secondary sexual characteristics. Dr. Levine, you have supported both allowing minors to be given hormone blockers to prevent them from going through puberty, as well as surgical destruction of a minor's genitalia. Like surgical mutilation, hormonal interruption of puberty can permanently alter and prevent secondary sexual characteristics. The American College of Pediatricians reports that 80 to 95% of prepubertal children with gender dysphoria will experience resolution by late adolescence if not exposed to medical intervention and social affirmation. Dr. Levine, do you believe that minors are capable of making such a life-changing decision as changing one's sex?
Well, Senator, thank you for your interest in this question. Transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field with robust research and standards of care that have been developed. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the Assistant Secretary of Health, I would look forward to working with you and your office and coming to your office and discussing the particulars of the standards of care for transgender medicine.
The specific question was about minors. Let's be a little more specific since you evaded the question. Do you support the government intervening to override the parent's consent to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and/or amputation surgery of breasts and genitalia? You have said that you're willing to accelerate the protocols for street kids. I'm alarmed that poor kids with no parents who are homeless and distraught, you would just go through this and allow that to happen to a minor. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kira Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused with her identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breasts amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community. I made a brash decision as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, trying to find confidence and happiness, except now the rest of my life will be negatively affected, she said, adding that the medicalized gender transitioning was a very temporary, superficial fix for a very complex identity issue. What I'm alarmed at is that you're not willing to say absolutely minors shouldn't be making decisions to amputate their breast or to amputate their genitalia. For most of our history, we have believed that minors don't have full rights and the parents need to be involved. So I'm alarmed that you won't say with certainty that minors should not have the ability to make the decision to take hormones that will affect them for the rest of their life. Will you make a more firm decision on whether or not minors should be involved in these decisions?
Senator, transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field, and if confirmed to the position of Assistant Secretary of Health, I would certainly be pleased to come to your office and talk with you and your staff about the standards of care and the complexity of this field.
Let it go into the record that the witness refused to answer the question. The question is a very specific one. Should minors be making these momentous decisions? For most of the history of medicine, we wouldn't let you have a cut sewn up in the ER. But you're willing to let a minor take things that prevent their puberty, and you think they get that back? You give a woman testosterone enough that she grows a beard, you think she's going to go back looking like a woman when you stop the testosterone? You have permanently changed them. Infertility is another problem. None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label. There's no long-term studies. We don't know what happens to them. We do know that there are dozens and dozens of people who've been through this who regret that this happened and a permanent change happened to them. And, you know, if you've ever been around children, 14-year-olds can't make this decision. In the gender dysphoria clinic in England, 10% of the kids are between the ages of 3 and 10. We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex. I can't vote for you if you can't.
Thank you so much, Senator Paul. Senator Levine, thank you for answering the question. I will turn to Senator Baldwin.
The guy the Biden administration droned, was he an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
The administration is, of course, reviewing that strike, and I'm sure that a full assessment will be forthcoming.
So you don't know if it was an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative?
I can't speak to that, and I can't speak to that in this setting in any event.
So you don't know or won't tell us?
I don't know because we're reviewing it.
Well, see, you'd think you'd kind of know before you off somebody with a Predator drone, whether he's an aid worker or he's an ISIS-K. See, the thing is this isn't just you. It's been going on for administration after administration. The Obama administration droned hundreds and hundreds of people. And the thing is there is blowback to that. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but I see these pictures of these beautiful children that were killed in the attack. If that's true, and not propaganda, if that's true, guess what? Maybe you created hundreds or thousands of new potential terrorists from bombing the wrong people. So you got to know who we can't sort of have an investigation after we kill people. We have an investigation before we kill people. We've got plenty of bombs. We can bomb almost anything we want from anywhere in the world. Maybe we should have bombed the helicopters and the planes that we left behind. I mean, even though you said you didn't know any of this and it was all surprise, once they took all of our stuff, we should have said you got 20 minutes to get out of it because we're going to blow it all up. Then you would have sent a message of strength. Instead, we bombed somebody who we're not sure whether it was an aid worker or an ISIS-K operative. See, that's not sending a signal of strength, and in the end, there will be more blowback from it. If you killed an aid worker on accident, I mean, do you think we're better off because of that? You really could have acted in a position of strength, but you could have made the basic decision, the basic fundamental decision that really ruined the whole thing for you was a military decision to abandon Bagram Air Force Base before you left, before the Americans were out. Anybody can argue, and you may have a point that it happened more quickly than we thought it was going to happen. Okay, that's an honest mistake, still a huge mistake. And when people make mistakes in the military, they ought to be relieved of their post. But leaving Bagram Air Force Base, I think, is an unforgivable sort of mistake. It's going to be remembered in history. But if you do nothing about it, you leave all these people in place and say, oh, well, we all agreed. It's like, then maybe everybody needs to go. I mean, but really, it was a terrible mistake. But releasing money to the Taliban will add insult to injury. It'll be terrible for the memory of the 13 soldiers who died in the end, who were the final soldiers to die in this war, if you end up giving money to the people that, have been ruining the Middle East and Afghanistan for decades. I hope you won't release the money, and I think it'll be a big mistake.
Well, is it right that you don't intend to follow the original understanding of the Constitution?
The senator's time has expired. Judge, you may answer the question.
Senator,
as I mentioned to an earlier question, I will apply originalism, and that is one of the factors or the tests that the Supreme Court has laid out for judges to follow, and I cannot ignore it. I have to follow originalism in the cases where it is appropriate.
But do you agree with Senator Hirono's
Senator's time has
defense
expired.
that those are the reasons?
The senator's time has expired. Senator Padilla is recognized for 5
You know,
minutes.
this is a committee where we've had a little bit of comedy, and I recognize
Chair.
that Senator Ossoff
my
is
time.
new, but we
Chairman.
generally don't have the chairman trying to jump in
Point
30
of personal
seconds
privilege,
in.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
And I
Senator.
My
recognize
time.
the chairman
The floor
may
is
not
mine.
want these
Senator
questions
Cruz, the
answered.
floor is mine.
Point of personal
Thank you.
privilege, Mr. Chairman.
There'll be order in the Judiciary Committee. Senator Cruz, your comment is noted, and Senator Padilla.
Chairman,
Thank you,
point
Mr.
of
Chair.
personal
Thank you,
privilege.
Mr.
Chairman
Senator
Ossoff
Padilla,
desperately
out of
does not want
respect
these
to-
questions answered.
Point of personal privilege.
Senator Hirono.
I would request that my colleague, Senator Cruz, not misstate what I'm saying. And you know what? All this mansplaining, please stop. Thank you.
Senator Padilla is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
What
Chair.
what was
Thank you
mischaracterized,
to-
Senator Hirono? You just said I
Galpin.
mischaracterized something. What?
The floor is mine. Senator Cruz.
Senator
I'm
Padilla
very
is
proud you have a
recognized
gavel,
for 5 minutes.
but a point of personal privilege, Senator Hirono just said I mischaracterized something she said. So I am asking her what was mischaracterized. You are welcome to explain what
Mr.
was
Chair.
mischaracterized.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, is the floor mine?
Okay, so you're not going to explain
Senator
what
Cruz.
claim was mischaracterized.
May I
Everyone
proceed
bear
my
with me.
questions?
Senator Cruz, you may respond to Senator Hirono.
I described what Senator Hirono said. I asked the judge if he agreed with her defense that he should not embrace originalism because it would not allow him to reach outcomes that she favored. She's now come back and said that was a mischaracterization of what she said, and so I'm inquiring, what is mischaracterized?
Mr. Chairman, very briefly, because otherwise, you know, the thing with my colleague is he always has to get the last word, and that is a fact. But one of the ways mischaracterizes that I do not object to originalism as applied because it results in decisions that I don't agree with. I disagree with the way that the court proceeded in some of the members of the court and how they proceed with the originalism to get to the results that they want. So that's it.
Is it not accurate
Okay,
that you said you thought
you, Mr.
originalism
Chairman.
shouldn't be followed because it would lead to a different result in a Burgerfeld